Hey, welcome everybody. Here's our last version of Partner Perspectives in 2025 with Infinite Green and our great partner Genesys. Just really quick for the audience, if you have any questions, please use the chat button. And since we are live and streaming, please don't swear, you are on the radio. Cool. Well, our friends and partner here at Genesys, we've got David Bailey-Aldrich and Taylor Wilkerson from our friends at Genesys. And then, of course, Scott McIntyre and myself tag teaming and trying to keep, the car on the rails here. So anyway, thanks, guys, for joining us. I want to give you a couple of seconds to share a little bit about yourselves, your background, those kind of things. But as you're thinking through kind of what we want to talk about today, because it's highly structured, as you all know, as our audience really knows, really, as Scott and I have really built our business around these customer experience models and customer experience accelerators for our customers, Genesys is not just your daddy's call center app anymore. I mean, it's something that's a little bit bigger, broader, wider, and you guys are tackling a lot more than just that contact center ACD application. So DBA, why don't you kick it off? Love to hear, just your background, quick little snippet of yourself. And then Taylor, I'd love for you to start answering that question of why is Genesys evolving into this, not just your daddy's call center app anymore?
Appreciate it. And thanks, guys, for having us. So David Bailey-Aldrich, that's a really long hyphenated name, so everybody calls me DBA. Quick background, started in telecommunications as a residential inbound call center agent at US West. Through the merger to Quest, was an e-commerce rep for a while. If you want to talk about multi-channel, it was kind of an interesting experience. Worked at the University of Minnesota internal telecommunications department for a little while. Then got back into the traditional telecom world with XO Communications. So I've worked for multiple carriers. I actually worked for an agent for 6 years. Also worked at a TSD, and just joined Genesys about a month and a half ago. Extremely excited to be here. My introduction to contact center and CCAS was at that TSD. And I realized very quickly that there's power there, not only in the customer experience, but the employee experience. And I thought I coined this term, and then I read that somebody had already used it, but total experience platform is really what I started talking about. And super excited to be here and very excited for this conversation today. Thank you.
Cool. Thanks. Taylor, take it away.
Absolutely. So first off, John and Scott, just appreciate you letting DBA and I be on here. But as mentioned, my name's Taylor Wilkerson. I'm currently the director of our commercial mid-market and SMB SCs at Genesys. And I've been at Genesys somehow going on 9.5, almost 10 years here in May. Started out actually roughly 10 years ago, coming from a broadcast journalism, public relations background and working in athletic communications for a little bit, but started as a contact center agent when all Genesys Cloud, then known as Pure Cloud, could do was route voice calls to where it is today. And I've been in a number of roles, whether as an individual SC, leading an individual team, working on our partner side, and today working with, AZ Zabala, our VP in sales on the commercial side. So I do want to jump in, John, because you kind of asked me a little bit of, hey, look, Genesys Cloud started off really as a very minute CX platform, and now it's grown into a much larger thing than just routing interactions. And, in my opinion, the reason why is when we think about CX and customer experience, we're not looking at just how to route voice calls or how to generate self-service, but instead we're looking at, and DBA kind of hit on this a little bit, the total experience, or really how to orchestrate experiences. And why Genesys Cloud, at least in my opinion, has really grown from just focusing on interactions is the aspect that if you're going to generate those memorable experiences, you're going to drive that type of loyalty where people come back to you on a regular basis, you have to have a platform that allows you to connect all of the systems and your technology ecosystem and make sure that data is flowing in correct ways and that you're driving more than just interactions, but overall experiences. So that's really why, in my opinion, you start seeing things in Genesys that are being developed, such as all the AI initiatives that we have in play, the fact that it has native workforce management or WEM in general, the fact that we have what's called an event data layer, where we have the ability to access data through like a Tableau or a BI in quick capacity now in the format that it needs to, because we're trying to connect all of the different layers to orchestrate those experiences and make sure that customers or patients or just individuals that are contacting with our customers or potential opportunities or partners, etc., get the best overall experience that they're looking for.
Yeah, it's not just a one size fits all anymore, right? And I think to me, as an outside in kind of partner of Genesys, the way I think about it is, every business has some basic table stakes, like you said, like voice and, how do I connect customers to service activity in the right way, the right place at the right time, but still giving them the control over that. And how do you kind of look ahead as a provider of those services? And you guys have things like journey mapping software and some things that you bring to the table that are complementary to more of the experience that lead the witness a little bit more. And really just, again, it's not a one size fits all. So I think that's where, when Scott and I talk about partners that we bring to the table for certain situations, we look for some of those. Some companies are ready for that, some aren't. But being able to kind of span the whole environment of that is a really unique, thing in the industry. And I think, again, that's why, from your perspective, I'd love to hear about how you look at new capabilities, new platform access, some of those things that others might be hunting around for. You guys are constantly on the view of what can we bring in separate and as a part of the platform to those experiences a little bit better. Maybe you can talk a little bit about that.
Yeah, it's a good call out there, and it's interesting how we approach different things, because I do think we approach it a little bit differently in the marketplace, in the aspect of we really don't couple anything on, or we really don't integrate anything on. Everything Genesys Cloud is API driven. We want an open infrastructure so you can fit it in the capacity that you're looking for. We have large customers that literally strip us down to the code, and we have other customers that we're a tech pillar in the tech stack. But moving back to kind of how we look at the different features and functionalities that we come into play, I think it's all driven around trying to predict and understand where CX is going, and that's driving. And I think we have a mix. And what I mean by that is we have a space where our customers and partners actually go in and make recommendations, and they vote on different things, and we gather feedback and understand, hey, look, we have to have these foundations to be able to build. Those foundations are never going to go away from anywhere. And then I think we have a third, to a degree, where we're trying to be AI leaders, and not just AI, but CX leaders, where you see things such as our partnership where we're looking at large action models in our virtual agents now, and some of the development that we're doing from, like, for example, for me, WEM with AI-driven forecasting and continuous scheduling and things of that nature. And then also a third where we're looking at partnerships and how we develop ecosystems within partnerships. If you look at what we've done with Salesforce with CX Cloud, if you look at what we've done recently with ServiceNow with Unified Experience, those were two integration types that were very new to the market and differentiating. So when I look at how we're approaching building into our platform, I break it down to those three areas. And the biggest factor I want to call out is you have to keep building in CX, meaning you have to build that core infrastructure. You have to continue adding those features and functionalities, because what you said at the beginning, John, is key. We're not now looking to replace features for features or apples for apples, but instead we're looking to drive towards what are the outcomes that the customer or the partner, whoever we're working with, what are the outcomes they're driving towards, and where are they at on that cycle? And those cycles are different from everybody. So that CX infrastructure is still critical, while also at the same point understanding we have customers that are pushing the boundaries already today, and we need to be pushing the boundaries with them as well.
And I might just add real quickly, you mentioned journey management and journey mapping, and I think that's an interesting opportunity where I'm thinking about customer experience from even making it easier to buy the right solution in order to solve for the business outcomes you're trying to achieve. And that journey management, journey mapping piece can be big because it can help a client understand where the actual trends of problems are. right? And that
Yeah.
helps them then determine what they actually need to solve for, I think very quickly, in a way that where that customer journey and customer experience kind of maps together, if that makes sense.
Hmm. Yeah. So is it fair to say that that's using that same scenario? If I don't really know what I need to know, let's say I inherited it, I'm new to the service experience for my company. I need to know kind of what that journey map tells me I should go and tackle. Do you offer the standalone? Hey, we can plug in journey mapping before you actually plug in the new capability, or do you allow for some of those standalone capabilities to act as your get your feet set within the platform and then start leveraging the whole platform? Is that something that Genesys does?
Well, and Taylor can keep me honest here because I'm new, but my understanding is that the journey mapping is actually able to be consumed standalone,
Right.
which then allows a client to better understand what's not working within their current environment. Of course, we would love it if that leads them into becoming a Genesys Cloud CX customer.
Yeah.
And I'm sure when they see those capabilities, that's going to be a heavy consideration for them.
Yeah.
So the short answer is yes, but Taylor, like I said, keep me honest if I misstated anything there.
I think yes. Meaning we have tools available to be able to map and understand and go
Mhm.
in and look at your infrastructure, similar to what y'all do, and say, look, here are the areas that we need to tackle. And how Genesys is built, basically, or Genesys Cloud is, you don't have to consume everything at once. And I don't think there's a single customer out there consuming everything at once. When I
Right.
talk to customers, they learn something new, and vice versa. I learn something new from them because we push out new releases every Monday. Like
Yeah.
it's not just like one or two new features. It's typically like an API update, two or three metrics, two or three actual features. We're doing something in FedRAMP. Like there's always a lot going on. So yes, there are capabilities to come in, bring our team, understand journey mapping. But at the same point, when you're looking at Genesys, we break it down license tiers, but there's also the ability to consume what makes sense for you and kind of move up as you go along. And that's kind of how our licensing and token-based consumption kind of works, is
Mhm.
the aspect of, hey, let's understand what your core outcome you're driving towards is. Let's find the solution that makes the most sense for you. By the way, if you need to scale up, scale up. If you need to add features that are within kind of the licensing framework you have already, great, add them. But when you're ready to kind of grow, like, let us know. We have ways that you can test that out for free. We have different avenues for you to get hands on with it. And I think that's the biggest factor, is when people get hands on with Genesys Cloud, they realize how easy it is to set up, configure. Of course, there are things you have to take into consideration and tweak, especially with AI and bots. Like those are just, a different animal altogether. But that's really, I think, one of the core competencies of Genesys Cloud.
Yeah, I think that's a huge piece because we've all lived in the SaaS environment for a long time now, right? And I think this feels like much more customer driven
Mhm.
SaaS versus, hey, you've got to have this level and you've got to do this. And, SaaS doesn't feel as flexible as it did when SaaS was first introduced in the market, at least from my perspective. So it seems like from a customer directed, you've got the ability to bring in partners like ourselves to help kind of find the right balance if they need some help getting there. But you also can give them a good starting point and then give them the flexibility around, hey, grow into this, grow around it, grow within and above it as you need. But it's going to be there to help you in all those ways. I think that's a really strong value prop in the market. DBA, you mentioned you were new to the company. What
Mhm.
you're involved in the channel, the tech advisory area, some of the new ways of orchestrating these capabilities for more solution sells and those kind of things. What's your journey have been so far, and why Genesys?
Oh, yeah, great question. Well, like I mentioned, when I was working at one of the TSDs, that's really where I got introduced to the technology side of the contact center and CCAS, right? And so I was exposed to the major players. And I made a point to get demos and to try to learn as much as I could about each of those platforms and the differentiators, so that then I could go out to the partners that I was supporting and bring the right the right opportunities to the right mix of suppliers, right? So that's kind of how that journey happened. But like I mentioned before, going back, I have experience as an inbound call center rep, right? And using the tools that are available now. It's a long time ago, but still, it's applicable today, right? That interaction comes in, And what I wouldn't have given for AI powered predictive routing, predictive analytics, things to say next best action, right, to help me get up to speed faster. And so fast forward, as I was having a conversation with Genesys, it's one of the few suppliers that I would consider working for, just because of the unique way that they put the platform together, right? It's all native, it's all in one, it's not bolt-ons. Even when we make acquisitions, we strip it down, we build it in native. And that there is a differentiator there, definitely for me, but also the leadership and the AI side, and even just the people. I knew Taylor before coming to work here. I knew a number of the other people, and just the Genesys culture, not only the internal company culture, but the way that we go to market, for me was unique. And so it just really felt like a great fit. And it offers opportunities to be able to help businesses solve for problems in a way that I haven't had in the past. And I'm really excited about that.
Awesome. Yeah, we had a chance, Scott and I had a chance down in Austin to meet with your leadership team, with Don and Brandon and some of your other core team. And there's a real energy around kind of what's here and now, but what's coming up on the horizon too. And I think from a tech perspective and just from a platform perspective, everybody's in the wash of AI and what does that mean for them. But, when it gets back down to delivering really solid customer experience and then being able to flex around that with a good data platform within, it seems like you're answering 90% of the challenges or the questions that companies may not ask or may not know to ask. And I think that's a big benefit, but it is all about the people too, right? I mean, it's a people business in a tech environment. And maybe you can share a little bit about your culture and some things that you do at Genesys, or what kind of attracts you to stick around for 10 years, Taylor, or, jump in with both feet, DBA.
I can jump in here real quick for a little bit. The people in the culture kind of really is why I'm still here. One, of course, you want to be challenged from a technology perspective and a personal perspective, which I hit both of those. I think you hit the nail on the head. There's a lot of great CX vendors out there. Definitely right now, there are a number, and Genesys is right there. And if we weren't, from my perspective, that would be concerning. Two, with the AI changing, like there's just constant challenge to learn something new every single day, which I try to prioritize. But from a culture perspective, Genesys really is an employee first organization. I mean, for example, in August, we get every Friday off for Mental Health Fridays. They give us like certain days of the year off. They give us a number of dollars or hours that we can use every year for donations. From an eco perspective, we meet all the requirements and the standards that you're looking for from those side of things. Like it really does put, I mean, even just, we talked about mental health days in August, even options for mental health from just number of different services from a healthcare perspective. They do whatever they can to provide for you from a culture perspective. And two, they push for innovation. Like my SVP, Yusuf Nukta, constantly is pushing and driving for, hey, this is great. How can we make it better? And that type of push from your leadership trickles down to your individual teams. And I get to work with an incredible group of solution consultants, and that, one, I just enjoy like going and having dinner with and talking to as a team, but two, that I get to work with them. That type of culture, and even the individuals that have left, that happens. You grow, you need to try new things, you need to do different stuff. That's life. Even those individual, like Friday, I'm going to have lunch with a team member that I haven't spoke to in a few weeks and stuff of that nature. Like that type of culture and how it, how Genesys pushes for and what it is why I've stuck around for 10 years.
And I think that's indicative of why I resonated with the company, right? As I was going through the conversation and considering joining, it stood out to me that it was employee first. It was the approach, like Taylor talked about, of even giving time to, whether it's donating time or donating resources, right? It's important to the company. You can tell it's also about, providing opportunities, but also expectations around improvement, right?
Mhm.
I've hit the ground running with training, and I know that's going to be ongoing. It's not a set it and forget it, right? Because the customer experience landscape is changing so quickly, it's incumbent upon us to be able to stay abreast of what's happening so that we can better help the partners that I support, as well as then those business clients that they're bringing to the table. The other thing that was interesting, just in the month and a half that I've been here, I've been introduced to a bunch of people at Genesys who we lovingly call boomerangs, right? They left and then went and then came back. And they have, the old saying is the grass isn't always greener, and that's an axiom, right? But it also is true. And many people took the opportunity to go explore a different opportunity for their career and realize that Genesys was the right fit. And so that, again, I talked to 6 people during my interview process, right, at various levels of leadership in different roles, and they all approach the business the same way, which is, look, technology is great. Having a leader platform like Genesys is wonderful. But it really is just a set of tools to solve business problems, right, and to
Yeah.
help businesses achieve outcomes. And if you're focused on selling the technology, you're going to miss out, and your customers going to miss out, and your partners are going to be underserved in the role that I'm in, right? And that's a theme in all of the training, is how do we apply all of this to help customers solve for their problems, right? And
Mhm.
so it isn't just marketing speak. I guess I'll just say that. And so that resonates with me. That's how I've always approached the business, whether I was a direct seller, or whether I was an agent, or whether I was supporting agents or working for suppliers. It's always been about, how do I help whoever I'm interacting with be successful, right? That's what's key.
Cool. You talked a little bit about partners, and we are a partner. What makes a good partner in your mind? I'd love to hear both of you share about that a little bit, because we're trying to figure out our place in the overall ecosystem. We're newer to the channel, and the partner kind of perspective, which is what this whole podcast is about, is for us making sure that we're evolving into what our customers need, but also in what our suppliers and our partners need too. So maybe you can share a little bit about what a good partner or what a good partnership looks like in your mind.
That's a really loaded question, John. So thanks for putting me on the spot. I'm sure Taylor has a different perspective, but I'm going to answer for myself first, and so I'll take my Genesys hat off for a moment. And that is that looks different, right, depending on what the partner brings to the table. First and foremost, they do not have to be technical experts, although they can be. They don't need to have technical expertise on their staff. In that case, though, then they need to make sure that they align with the technical experts that they can bring to the table, whether that's directly with suppliers like a Genesys, or whether that's through other relationships they have. Maybe it's with their TSDs, maybe it's with another partner, maybe there's co-opetition that happens. But the key is recognizing that, again, I'm going to bring it back to business conversations. The best partners that I have worked with are the ones who understand that the conversations that they're having with their clients are not about what can they sell them. It's about what can they help them solve for, and what's in their portfolio. And if it's not in their portfolio, they'll go out and either find it, or they'll at least make an introduction, right?
Mm-hmm.
It obviously, all of the partners are in business and they need to be able to make money and be profitable. But the best partners that I have worked with are solving business outcomes, and they're curious. They ask questions.
Yeah.
They challenge, right? They don't just listen to what I might say in my PowerPoint presentation when I show up at their office to give them the updates. They challenge. They ask them why questions. They ask them, how did that become, like, what's the real there, right? Because they want to
Mm-hmm.
make sure that when they put a supplier in front of one of their clients or their prospects, that it makes them look good. It shows that they listened. I hope that makes sense. So I think it's
Yeah.
that approach to the business, and that can it can, I guess, it can be expressed in many different ways, because everybody has different personalities. Every company has different cultures, right? But there are some themes I've seen that have
Yeah.
definitely stood out with the best partners.
Yeah.
Yeah. And and for me, it's pretty straightforward in my opinion. I think DBA said it best. Like, good represents a lot of different things, but open to a relationship, honest, gives
Mhm.
critical feedback, and has the customer is customer obsessed, meaning whatever the customer is wanting, that is
Yeah.
what they're driving towards, and they're putting them first and no matter what. If they're
Yeah.
open and honest with us about everything, they give good feedback. We have the ability to partner as a team and
Mhm.
work as a team. Even if they're working with other vendors, they do the same thing for everybody.
Yep.
That
Yeah.
is the type of partner that is ideal, and that's where we see, a lot of success with partners when they are open like that.
That's awesome. Scott, you recently, and I'm supporting a little more of the front and center here for Scott because he's a little under the weather, but we need his face for the eye candy for the
He
podcast
looks
here.
great.
Yeah,
My,
that's me.
my
The eye
face
candy.
for radio doesn't quite do it, but Scott, you recently, within the last year or so, have implemented Genesys for one of our clients. And how would you say the process in general has gone from partner to channel to sale to implementation with another partner, et cetera? How would you qualify that comment and maybe give us a little color around that?
Sure. So first off, it was kind of for a unique industry, so hospitality in Vegas. So it was a little bit of a different type of implementation, where we were handling both, I would say, inbound reservation calls, those kinds of things, as well as some hotel rerouting, if you will, some traditional POT stuff at the same time. So it's kind of a unique install. But I think through the partnership, the education of the platform, what it's capable of, straightforward pricing. I mean, I think that process, handing it off to a third-party implementer, which was a great experience. That was pretty seamless. And I think what was telling was when we got it, the conversations moving, the team at the hospitality company we were doing this with started to leverage Genesys for a lot more than we originally scoped. So they saw it as an opportunity to leverage its capabilities more than, just for the call center. We actually started rerouting some of the traffic from the rest of the hotel in different ways and leveraged some Genesys capability to do that. So, from my perspective, it was very seamless. I think the educational process for teaching someone who's never used a call center tool to get them up to speed on that kind of platform and those tools was nice. And that's typically something, that educational cycle is a tough one.
Yeah.
Bringing somebody along that has, never really managed, I would say, an enterprise grade contact center management tool. So it's not, as intimidating as it could, I guess. And I think that process was solid.
Cool.
I will add on. That's one of the least known, I think, benefits or things you don't think about during a sales cycle. You have some individuals that are so focused on that, and rightfully so. How are my individuals or my end users going to adopt this platform? And I've had customers share the same thing. Like I've got a customer, for example, that went from basically a 4-week onboarding process down to 3 days with Genesys Cloud, and that included more than just Genesys
Sure.
Cloud. And I've had others pull their entire phases or even groups live. And this summer, I had a group that just, we were working on a paid POC, we were doing some live stuff, and then that evening they're like, okay, we're going to put everybody live. And within 2 hours the next morning, their users were comfortable in Genesys Cloud and handling everything, voice specific, but handling everything live in Genesys Cloud by that point. So, not to jump in there, Scott, but I think that's a key call out, is making sure when you're looking at any platform that people will actually adopt it in the ways that you want them to.
Yeah, I would say the barrier used to be that a company would dream big and they go find a technology provider, and that technology provider might be able to handle 70% of it, and the other 30% of like the really crazy stuff that they wanted to implement just couldn't be done. And I'd say those tables are flipped now, where the technology can do and dream. You could dream as big as you want with the capabilities. The technology is not the barrier. The people and the process and how the company looks at it and getting change management done is now the new barrier. The technology is not the barrier anymore.
And I would just add to that real quickly, Scott, going back to the previous question, John, where we're talking about what makes a good partner, that art of the possible, if you will, conversation, helping clients understand, they're not going to necessarily use everything right away, but understanding how much they can solve for. And that it isn't a set it and forget it. It's an ongoing conversation as needs evolve. making sure that those conversations happen regularly, so that we don't end up missing an opportunity to solve a business problem 2 quarters earlier because we just didn't know we could do it. Right.
Yeah. Yeah. I think it's an interesting, and we'll have to do an additional follow-up since we're at time, but I think it'd be great from a sales process to say you're leveraging 22% of the potential of the platform, and give them kind of that look ahead. Hey, I want to know more, but I don't want to build the Taj Mahal to begin with. I want to build so that I can grow into it and grow appropriately into it. And as you think about all the wash of and marketing of AI right now, I think it's a lot of what all can I solve in one fell swoop, instead of what your customers really want is something that you show up really well, don't stub your toe, and then grow into more for what their needs are going to be. But
Yep.
gents, hey, thank you so much for joining us. Great conversation. Hopefully that was helpful to our audience out here too. Scott, thanks for being on and plowing through the sickness, but you definitely kept us going here. And do you want to pop up the QR code, Scott?
Sure. It might, let's see, cover daily.
There it is.
There it is.
Yeah, it's just over DBA. If you can move just a little bit over, so not the other way, the other way, just a little more.
Nope.
There, perfect.
All right.
Yeah. So if anyone wants to know more, wants a follow-up conversation, just click that QR code, give us a shout. We can get you in touch with DBA and Taylor and the team at Genesys. Thanks, guys. And have a happy holiday season. We look forward to meeting more with you guys in 2026 and solving more of these customer challenges. But until then, have a great December, and we'll see you soon.
Thanks very much.
Take
care.
care.